What does it actually mean to be nurturing? Do you have nurturing relationships in your life? Are you a nurturing person? In this episode, I share some of the programming that we've all experienced that's actually not nurturing and how we can shift it to cultivate deeper connections in our lives. Welcome to the Abundance Hack Show, Season 4, where we are focusing on mastery. The last 3 seasons, I gave you the information. Now, we're focusing on integrating it into our lives and embodying it. If you are ready to master your thoughts, emotions, and patterns to feel whole, fulfilled, and really grounded in who you are without dimming your shine so you can live the abundant life that you truly desire, then you are in the right place. Hey M&Ms, thank you for tuning in to the Abundance Hack Show. What are you manifesting in your life today? In this episode, we are going to discuss how to be nurturing. This topic came up with a friend of mine. We were having a conversation about what feels nurturing to us. We have very similar upbringings and very similar moms, so we had these deep conversations, and I thought this was such an important topic to discuss because if you've been listening to me for a while, you know that I've gone through some growth and transformation, and through that process, a lot of people have fallen away. And when I started really speaking my truth and really honing in on what I need, what I desire, the type of relationships I want in my life, and I started communicating that to some people fell away. And the people who have stayed, we have these deep conversations like, okay, what does support look like for you? And if this doesn't feel supportive, how can I support you? So these are the conversations that really cultivate the deep connections that I feel we all desire. I definitely desire it. Connection is my top value. So these are really important topics for me. So what does it actually mean to be nurturing? And I just want to say, I think that nurturing is something that we have to work on because programming actually programs the complete opposite. Like today's society programs us to be the opposite of nurturing. And just like Brené Brown says, compassion and empathy are learned skills. I think that nurturing is a learned skill because a lot of people didn't grow up in nurturing households. And we live in a society today where we say we're holding space for people and we say we're understanding people and supportive people, but the same way we say LOL and we're not actually laughing. You know what I mean? I mentioned that in the last podcast episode. We say LOL so much, we type it so much, but probably 8 or 9 times out of 10, we're not actually laughing. When we put the laughing emoji, we're not actually laughing. And that's why this season of Abundance Hack, I feel so strongly about encouraging people to truly embody what they say that they are and not just type it, you know? And so this topic is really important to me, and I want to show up as a nurturing person. So it's something that I've been doing a lot of work around and also really identifying what nurturing looks like and feels like to me. So let's dive in. If you look up the definition of nurturing, it says nurturing is the act of encouraging, nourishing, and caring for someone or something. So if you Google, what does a nurturing person mean? To nurture is to take care of, feed, and protect someone. So a nurturing person is a person who, by nature, is protective and caring. Some examples of nurturing behavior are being fully present in your interactions with people, verbally and non-verbally, validating their feelings, which is so important. We'll get to that later. Providing physical affection and comfort when sought. Providing safe mental, physical, and social challenges that promotes healthy growth and transformation. So there's definitely a lot of layers there. And what I wanted to do was kind of take a combination of everything that I read online and researched and create my own definition. So my definition of nurturing is to be fully present for someone, providing a safe space while offering support, compassion, validating their feelings, providing consensual physical affection, and encouraging them towards growth and transformation. So I wanted to add in consensual. You always want to receive consent. So if someone's going through a hard time, you want to ask, can I give you a hug? Because sometimes some people don't want to be touched when they're having a hard time. Some people are not okay with physical affection. And so asking first, can I give you a hug, is definitely important. So that's why I wanted to add in there consensual physical affection. And I think hugs are amazing. I think that we need more physical affection, but if someone's not comfortable or used to it, you definitely want to ask permission first. You want to receive that consent. So let me go over my definition one more time. My definition of nurturing is being fully present for someone and providing a safe space while offering support, compassion, validating their feelings, providing consensual physical affection, and encouraging them towards growth and transformation. So to me, that pretty much sums it up. And I think that it's so important these days that we are aware of how we are showing up for the people in our lives. There's so many people that say, oh, I support you, or oh, I'm holding space for you, but they're not actually. So having awareness, like, are we actually showing up for people and providing a safe space? So to me, a safe space is being able to listen and be fully present without judgment, without criticism. That to me is a safe space. And it's really hard, just being really honest, it's really hard not to judge. It's really hard not to compare. Like, a lot of times we listen to people and then we think about our own experiences in a situation similar, and that's not being fully present for them and their emotions and their feelings and their needs in that moment when we shift out of it to think about ourselves. So not comparing, not judging, not criticizing, that to me is a safe space. But again, these are things that we're not used to doing because we live in a society where we're constantly comparing our lives to other people's lives via social media. So these are things that we have to work on. These are learned skills. So this is definitely not a slap on the wrist for anyone, because this is the stuff that I'm working on. Like, I wasn't taught or programmed to be a nurturing person. These are things that I am actively paying attention to when I interact with people so I can be a nurturing person. So let's talk about what nurturing is not. A lot of times it's easier to give examples of what it's not before we talk about what it is. So one thing that's not nurturing is gaslighting. Most of the people who fell away in my life we experienced this right here. So some examples of gaslighting is someone saying, you're so needy, you ask for so much, you're crazy, are you on your cycle? Oh my God, if a guy says, are you on your cycle, because he's like, oh, you're being too emotional, that's a problem. You're so emotional is another one. You're so emotional. So basically, it's making a person feel like their feelings, emotion, needs, or desires are too much or unacceptable, which creates self-doubt and confusion in the person. That's not nurturing. That's not a safe space. So when I shared that the people who have fallen away, I have two situations that I think of right off the top of my head. I said to one person, like, hey, that didn't really feel nurturing. That didn't really feel good. And they were just like, oh, I can't say anything right to you. And so that's not a safe space. That's not a safe connection. That's not a safe conversation. And another situation was, I shared like, hey, this really hurt my feelings. And the person was just like, nothing I do is good enough for you. And so these are forms of gaslighting, to where if a person can't meet your needs or expectations, rather than them saying like, I'm sorry this hurt you, or I'm sorry this caused you pain, that definitely wasn't my intention. I have a full plate, so I couldn't be there for you in the way that you wanted me to. Or, I was just joking, but I definitely didn't mean to hurt your feelings. So rather than them validating your feelings and creating that safe space where it's free of ego, judgment, criticism, they go into this gaslighting, manipulative technique to make you feel like your feelings are unacceptable, which only creates self-doubt and confusion in the person, or shame in the person. And that's not really okay. That's definitely not nurturing. So if you grew up with parents who did this, like if you asked your parent for something and they're like, oh my God, you're so needy, like you should be grateful for what you have, this made it very challenging for you to trust yourself. And if you haven't done inner work, you probably still have trouble trusting yourself now as an adult and constantly seek external validation, or are a huge people pleaser because you were gaslit as a child. So you don't have that internal trust and that internal safety because you weren't validated as a child. Oh, you guys, this runs deep. So another thing that's not nurturing is dismissing the experience. I can't deal with this right now. I'm too busy for this. I don't have time for this. So I'm sure a lot of people have felt this from parents, from lovers, from, even teachers. And so when you have people that dismiss how you feel, what you need, it can also create a lot of self-doubt. Like, it's not okay for me to want or need this thing. And that's not nurturing. We have to honor our needs and desires and our emotions and feelings. And so another thing that's not nurturing is shifting the blame on the person. So this looks like someone saying, what did you do? What did you do to deserve that? Well, you shouldn't have done that. Look at the mess you've created. So this definitely creates shame, guilt, and embarrassment. And the core of so many people's insecurities is shame, guilt, and embarrassment. So we store shame in our bodies. We don't actually name it. Like, sometimes we can't identify, like, okay, I'm feeling shame. Have you ever heard anyone say that? Like, I'm experiencing shame. I feel a lot of shame. Like, people don't say that. People don't say that. This is a feeling that we suppress in our bodies, and it actually turns into physical ailments and physical pain in our body if we do not acknowledge and release it. And guilt is something a lot of people don't tend to admit to. And so that's stored in our bodies as well. And embarrassment is a little lighter because usually embarrassment is like, okay, I know everyone's gone through this. So people will tend to admit to embarrassment more than they will guilt or shame. So we definitely don't want situations or connections that create shame in us, and we have to have awareness around where we're creating shame in other people. So the last one is really tricky. So, if someone is gaslighting you, it doesn't feel good. If someone's dismissing you, it doesn't feel good. If someone is blaming you for what you experience, it doesn't feel good. This last one that's not nurturing is a little tricky because it comes across as encouraging, but it's still not nurturing. So this one is invalidating the experience. So this looks like someone saying, it's not that bad. You got this. Be strong. Big boys don't cry. Big girls don't cry. Men don't cry. That type of thing. Now, a lot of this is designed to be encouraging and to promote strength and resilience. However, invalidating someone's experience is still not nurturing because it creates that, like, okay, well, it's not okay for me to cry. It's not okay for me to feel this way. It's not that bad. It minimizes the experience, and it just creates that self-doubt. It creates that lack of self-trust. Like, no, this is that bad, and it may not be that bad to you, but it's bad to me. And you saying it's not that bad is you not trusting and believing my experience. And one of the things that Brené Brown says is we have to believe people when they share with us. We have to trust their experience and trust how they perceived their experience and not minimize it by saying it's not that bad. You got this. You're strong. If the person doesn't feel strong in that moment, you saying be strong or you're strong is still diminishing their experience in that moment. So one of the most important things to do is validate their experience. So what is nurturing? So we talked about what nurturing is not. So let's talk about what is nurturing. So number one is validate their experience. So we can use a child, for example. So a child falls and scuffs their knee, for example. If someone is not being validating, they're going to be like, oh, it's not that bad, sweetie, get up, you got this, you're strong, big girls don't cry, or big boys don't cry, men don't cry. And so that's not validating. So what is nurturing is to be like, aw, you have a boo-boo, does that hurt? Like, and that allows them to be like, okay, this hurts and that's okay. And not try to shift them out of crying. And a lot of times parents do this, but when they do it, they're not creating that emotional safety in their child. And so same thing in our adult lives. If someone comes to you and they're just like, this situation kicked my ass, if you're like, oh, you got this, you're strong, that's dismissing and minimizing their experience. But being like, damn, that sucks. That has to be hard. It makes the person feel heard. It makes the person feel seen, and it validates their experience. Like, wow, that must have hurt. Wow, that sucks. It's so important that these days we're heard and we're seen, because there's so much of life that's invalidating us and our feelings. So if you have an opportunity to validate the experience for the people in your life so they feel seen and heard, like, we need that. We need that right now. So that's number one. What is nurturing? What is nurturing is being vulnerable. So being present with them in their emotion without trying to fix it or have them shift out of it. This is so important. And I will say, I'm a fixer. I like to fix everything. Not everything, that sounded bad, but like, I like to have a solution to everything, if that makes sense. So I am a very solution-oriented person. So anytime someone has a problem, I'm like, ooh, how can I help? How can I come up with a solution? However, I have learned that you have to just sit with people in their pain. You have to sit with people in their emotion. You have to sit with people in their grief. Like, grief is something that I've learned, like, I don't know what to say. And so I've learned, like, sometimes you say, like, I know there's nothing that I can say to make you feel better, but I just want you to know that I am here. And anything you want to talk about, I am here to listen. What do you need? Do you need a hug? You know, and that, I found, works better than trying to find the right thing to say, because there is no right thing you can say when someone is grieving. And so trying to be like, oh, you'll get through this soon. Time what is the saying? Time heals all wounds. That is the worst thing you can say to someone who's grieving. Like, the absolute worst. There is no right thing to say when a person is grieving. So being able to just sit with them in their emotions without absorbing it. It's important that I add that, like, don't take on their grief, don't take on their pain, but being able to sit with them without moving out of it. A lot of times people move out of the emotion because they're uncomfortable with vulnerability. They're uncomfortable with pain. And I actually just talked about this on social media today. I posted that I've been working on sitting with my own pain, because if I can sit with my own pain and not shift out of it, I am able to hold space for other people's pain more. And with the work that I do, it's important that I'm able to hold that space. And so a lot of times with our own pain, we try to shift out of it. We tell ourselves, you know what, it's fine, it is what it is, and move out of it, whatever painful or disappointing situation we're experiencing, because we don't sit with our own pain. So I'm not saying wallow in it, obviously. Like, if you're listening to me, you probably don't wallow in pain, but being able to sit with it and name what you're feeling. Like, I feel a little hopeless right now. I feel exhausted. Exhausted is one that's been common for me with the expansion of my business. I'm like, I feel exhausted right now. And just being able to sit there and really truly honor how I feel without telling myself something to shift out of it, because that's what we do. And we're programmed to do that because we're programmed to go, 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 hustle, grind, push past your discomfort. So we're not actually spending time in how we really truly feel, because we're programmed to shift out of it if it's anything other than positive thoughts and positive vibes. But that creates a situation where we're not present and able to sit with the people in our lives if they have anything other than positive thoughts or positive vibes. So this is really powerful work that will deepen the connection to the people in your lives and also deepen your connection with yourself. It's really powerful work. So the last thing that I want to say is nurturing is asking how you can support them and actually following through. So this is not a type LOL when you're not actually laughing, like actually follow through. So if you ask, how can I support you? And a person says, it'd be helpful if you check on me, like here or there. Actually check on the people in your lives. Check on your strong friends. You guys, let me say that again. Check on your strong friends and family members and colleagues, because a lot of times when people appear to be strong and have it together, those are the ones that people don't check on, that probably need the checking on of the most. So make sure you check on people. If someone says, this is how you can support me, actually do the thing and be consistent. Show up. Like, that is so important. So how to actually be nurturing. So number one, I would say write down what nurturing feels like to you. And this may be hard. This is like, I want you to journal on this and really sit with it. If you grew up with critical parents or an absent parent, or, even if you've had like a traumatic situation where like someone was like addicted to drugs or had their own severe trauma to where they couldn't be nurturing to you, you may not know what nurturing actually feels like. And that's okay. I had to sit with this, and I'm still sitting with it. I'm still navigating what feels nurturing to me and what doesn't, and why. And so really sit with this and get clear on what nurturing feels like to you. So when you go throughout your day and something feels nurturing, just make a mental note in your head, like, ooh, that felt really good. That felt really nurturing. Like, that made me feel warm and fuzzy inside. So I remember when I was doing intimacy coaching years ago, I feel like she asked a question similar to like, what does nurturing feel like to you? And I was like, I don't know how to describe it, but to me, this may sound silly, but like, to me, it feels like being wrapped in a warm, fuzzy blanket. And that's all I had at that time. Like, I could not describe it any better than that. And so now, when you are wrapped in a warm, fuzzy blanket, you feel safe, you feel protected, and you feel comfortable. I didn't have the verbiage to be able to articulate it properly back then, but I want to feel safe in my connections. I want to feel protected. And when I say protected, I think more about emotional safety, and is my vulnerability safe here? And is what I'm sharing with you safe here? And so that's kind of what I think of when I think of protection. So emotional safety, and just knowing that this is a safe space for me to share, and you're going to protect this information. So, people can tend to like throw stuff up in your face later or share your business. So like, emotional protection, if that makes sense. And then feeling comfortable. Like, a nurturing person feels comfortable when you have a nice, soft, fluffy blanket. Like, you feel so comfortable, and you can just like, just kind of let your guard down. Like, that is what I want nurturing to feel like. And a lot of people don't feel like that to me. But when you didn't have nurturing, you tend to attract people or be attracted to people who aren't nurturing, because we repeat the same patterns until we do the work to shift them. And that is what we're doing here. By you listening to this podcast and it just planting that seed in your subconscious, you will start to notice now the connections in your life that feel nurturing and that don't. And so, number 2 on how to be nurturing is to be nurturing to yourself. This is so important. Notice, do you validate your own experience, or do you try to shift out of it and convince yourself that it's not that bad, or it is what it is? I feel like it is what it is like the most common one in today's society. So do you allow yourself to feel like, damn, that sucks? Or are you just like, it is what it is. It is what it is. It's not that bad. And so you're not actually validating your own feelings. So do you allow yourself to get vulnerable and intimate? I say you got to get intimate with yourself and name what you're feeling and name your needs and name your desires. So having that impeccable self-awareness to where you can be like, I'm experiencing some shame right now. And you don't have to say this to people, but like be able to say it to yourself, or be able to write it in your journal. Like name what you're feeling. I feel hopeless right now. I don't feel strong right now. Being able to name it really allows you to validate what you are feeling, validate your experience, and then naming your needs and desires and having that social courage to communicate it to the people in your life. And if they are not okay with it, then, they fall away, just like some of the people have fallen away in my life. And you create space for people who are nurturing. Number 3 on how to be nurturing is honor what you need. And this one has so many layers, especially for entrepreneurs and business owners, because we need things, but we're so conditioned to not pay attention to what we need. Our bodies are constantly communicating to us, you need more water, you need more nutrition, you need more sleep, but we're programmed to go, 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 hustle, grind. We don't actually pay attention to what we need. And if we don't pay attention to what we need, we can't honor what we need. And when we're not honoring what we need, we don't notice that the people around us need something. So if you're not honoring your own needs, how are you going to honor someone else's needs? So building that awareness around how nurturing you are to yourself, because the more you nurture yourself, the more you will be nurturing to other people. And so I just want to say, nurturing others without nurturing yourself is people pleasing, which usually indicates self-worth issues or abandonment issues. So if you find that you are a nurturing person to others, like, oh yeah, I'm super nurturing to others. I always make sure I'm there for others and I pay attention to what they need and I validate their experience, but you're not doing it for yourself, that indicates some self-worth issues or abandonment issues. With abandonment issues, usually we want to be a certain thing to other people so they don't leave us. And this is all subconscious. It's not in the forefront of our minds. We don't actively say, oh, I'm going to be there for this person and do this for this person because I don't want them to leave. This is all subconscious. This is all in the back of our minds. And one thing, shameless plug, one thing I love about sound therapy is it helps you access those subconscious blocks. It helps bring them to the forefront of your mind so you're aware of your patterns and you can decide, is this pattern serving me or not? So no people pleasing. Make sure you're nurturing yourself first. One of my favorite quotes is, you can't pour from an empty cup. You have to take care of you first. So it's important that you are nurturing to you. So start to pay attention when you have something happen. Do you validate your experience? And this goes both ways, good and bad, because a lot of times people don't validate their good experiences either. They're just like, something great could happen and you're like, yeah, it was okay. Like, no, it was freaking amazing, And if you can't celebrate yourself and validate your own experience, you can't celebrate and validate other people's experiences. So it starts with you. So important, so important. Okay, quick recap, how to be nurturing. definitely journal what nurturing feels like to you. You have to get clarity around what it feels like to you. Number two, once you have that clarity, be nurturing to yourself, because the more that you nurture yourself, the more you're going to be nurturing to others. And number three, honor what it is you need. So once you gain that clarity and you start doing it, be consistent, show up for you, because it shows that you value yourself. And when you start valuing yourself, you value other people and you show up for them too. I know how important it is to be nurtured because I experience it. I feel it. I know the difference that it's made in my life. So I want to make sure that I'm nurturing to other people. And then you start showing up for other people. Obviously, all within boundaries, because, there's only 24 hours in a day. So making sure you're not taking on too much. So healthy boundaries definitely look like if someone is having a hard time, I feel like I just got this download to add this in there. When I say be nurturing to people in your life, I'm not saying like go around and be there for everyone, because we can't be there for everyone, but having those boundaries of like, okay, I know that this person's having a hard time. I only have a 30-minute window. So saying to them, like, I know that you need someone to talk to. I have 30 minutes. And it sets that healthy boundary. One thing that my business therapist says that she gets from Brene Brown is clear as kind. Clear as kind. So you may not have time to check on all of your friends and all of your family members and all of your colleagues, but just creating little windows of time, like I'm a huge time blocking fan, creating little windows of time so you can check on your friends. And if you know someone's having a hard time, and it's not just about a hard time, it's also celebrating the people in your life. So if you know someone had something great happen, or you know someone's having a hard time, being like, oh my God, I have 30 minutes. Tell me about this great thing that just happened in your life because I want to celebrate you. So validating their experience, whether good or bad. This is so good, M&Ms. This is so good. And let me just tell you, why is this important? Why is this important? Because it helps you build deeper connections. And you know that connection is my top value. So when you feel nurtured and you feel fully supported, it gives you more security and encouragement to go after what you truly desire and live that abundant life that we all desire. Like, that's why you're listening to this podcast, because you want to live an abundant life. And in order to do that, you have to feel fully supported. And to feel fully supported, you have to have nurturing connections in your life. So M&Ms, I want you to be abundant in nurturing connections, but it starts with you being nurturing to yourself. So nurture yourself. Nurture yourself. I'm going to say it one more time. Nurture yourself, because it'll allow you to be nurturing to others, and it's going to help you show up even better for the people in your life. So look at this. Look at Abundance Hack Podcast helping you be a better friend, lover, and colleague. Okay, M&Ms, if you know someone that needs to hear this message, definitely share this podcast episode with them. I would absolutely love to hear your feedback. You can always DM me on Instagram, or screenshot that you're listening to the podcast episode and share it on your story and tag me so I can share it as well. It brightens my day when you share your feedback. So I want to hear from you. I want to hear if you gain value from this episode and how you are nurturing yourself. Spill the tea. All right, until next time, be decadent. Thank you for tuning in to the Abundance Hack Show. I would love to hear from you. Leave your comments and questions, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our yummy episodes. Every time you leave a 5-star rating or review, I do my happy dance.